Friday, 2:02 p.m. on Sunday. What is today? September? Anyone?
15th.
What is it?
15th.
September 15th. Woo! We are live here on the Rythmia Facebook page. Welcome to my home, everybody. I'm going to call up this live here on the Rythmia Facebook page. Okay, I see people hopping on, so we are in fact live. This is good news. Join Meg live. Joining Meg live. My internet's not working. Okay, hey guys, so we are live, and I want to tell you that I have an amazing guest here with me this afternoon helping me out, because if you've been tuning in the last few weeks, you've seen that we've been generally interrupted routinely many times throughout the course of the Facebook Live by my little baby. So she is currently upstairs in her nursery napping with the baby monitor, and the baby monitor is Levi's ears, waiting to see if she wakes up. She's having a nap. She hasn't had a nap pretty much since 5:30 this morning, so we finally got her down. She's having a nice slumber. Let's see who's watching here. Tammy's watching, Tiffany's watching. Hey Megaruni, hey Tiffany Lynn. Levi Moody's watching from the sofa in the living room here. Marianne Fowle says, hey Meg, looking forward to an October 6th visit. Awesome, Marianne. Alyssa's watching. Aileen is saying hello. Oh, love you too, Eileen. So beautiful to see you joining us. Okay, back to what I was saying. We have a special guest here who's going to be helping me in the camera department because Levi is on father duty, waiting for the baby to wake up. But I do have a dear friend, Miss Fiona Mayo. If you know her, and you must love her, there she is, one of our amazing staff members at Rythmia. She's come over this afternoon to help out so that if Levi needs to run upstairs to the baby, he can, and this live will not be interrupted. Zin is watching. Hey Zin. Carolyn saying hello. Priscilla saying aloha. Awesome, guys. Let me know where you're watching from. I always love to hear that. So I'm going to just hand this camera over to you. So just
I'll try my best.
Fingers in front of the camera. There we go. How are we doing?
Good.
Are we good?
Good.
Levi? Everything's good? How's the audio? Let me know, everybody. We're getting this system ironed out. We're making it work here at home. I'm going to be doing my lives here at home from my home kitchen, by the way, probably until the end of October. Because at the end of October, I'm going to be heading back to Rythmia on a very part-time basis. So I might do some of my lives there from my Roots kitchen. And I'm just calling this all up on my laptop so I can pay attention to the comments as I cook. Dun, dun, dun. What are we doing here today, guys? We are doing lentil loaf. Say what? Not meatloaf, we're doing lentil loaf. This is a recipe that I'm very excited about. It is a recipe that I had created for my first cookbook back in 2013, and it's a recipe that I love. I actually used to make it all the time for myself. I made it a lot when I was recipe testing it, so I always had a loaf of it in my freezer, sliced up in slices, and then I would have, just reheat a slice a night type of thing. But this is a recipe that my sister reminded me of, because just recently she posted me on Instagram. She posted or messaged me, I can't remember what, it doesn't matter. That she had made this for a friend of hers and her friend's two children, who I think are like 6 and 8 or even younger than that. And they had made the lentil loaf and some other vegetable sides, and they kept asking for seconds of the meatloaf, none of the other vegetables. So, tricking kids into eating lentils. Who knew? Not that I'm a big proponent of tricking children, having to trick children into eating vegetables, but let's face it, sometimes they won't. So this is a really great way to get extra fiber and all of that goodness in. Okay, why is this not working? How do I make it so that
Trying to read comments?
I can see the comments? Yeah. Nope, there we go. I got it. Nailed it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so Carolyn is watching. George is saying, watching from Vero Beach, Florida. George is also coming October 6th. So who do we got? We've got George, and who was it that said they're coming? And Marianne. So Marianne and George, you guys are both watching, and you're both coming to Rythmia on October 6th. So maybe you guys should say hello to each other. That's pretty cool. Carolyn McCarter saying hi. Dusty is saying congrats on the baby and hi from Edmonton, Alberta. Tara Lee is watching from Fairbanks, Alaska. Marianne saying she's watching from Kitchener, Ontario. Carolyn is watching from Lake Mills, Wisconsin. Wow, Tim is watching from Prague right now. How awesome is that? Micheline Cousineau, what a beautiful name, Micheline Cousineau, is watching from Quebec, Canada. Tiffany Lynn saying, hey Dusty, we're in Edmonton also. See, look at these people connecting. That's super cool. Carol Ann can't hear very well. Okay, how is the audio now, everybody? Let me know. I know when we switch the camera around, it tends to get a little bit further away because the microphone switches. So when we get into things, maybe Fiona can come a little bit closer with the camera. Okay, so back to the topic of the conversation. We're doing lentil loaf, as I said, and I'm going to show you. I think I showed you guys this last week. It's from my first cookbook, Mac Wellness Morsels, available on Apple Books and through my website. There's a lot of recipes in here that were really important for me as I transitioned into this type of, into my career in the culinary world from my career as a television director, but also as I transitioned into eating more plant-based. This particular recipe was the very first raw vegan one that got me into this world. I recreated this with my first fiance when I was 29 years old. Many times him and I made this at home, and that's what really got me into the raw vegan world. So that recipe's in there. That's a raw vegan lasagna. But what we're making today is vegan lentil loaf. So it is on page 46. Look at this. Look at how delicious those slices look. Super moist. Looks just like meatloaf, but it ain't. It's meat loaf. Ain't that neat? It's nut and lentil meatloaf. So lame. I'm so lame. But whatever. I'm a mom that doesn't get much sleep. But I'm wearing a new dress. I got a bunch of postpartum dresses that I feel a bit more comfortable. Clearly I'm not supposed to be wearing a bra with this, but again, postpartum. I've got mom boobs now. I gotta wear a bra because they're pretty heavy with milk. So.
You look beautiful.
Thanks, Fiona.
Yeah.
So, enough about me. How are you guys doing? How is life? It is the fall, starting the second week of school for most people in North America. I know that it's cooling down up in Canada. I have a lot of people here watching from Canada. I hope that you guys are enjoying the autumn season and all of the pumpkin spice, everything that you can get. And I cannot wait to come back to Canada in Christmas time and get all of that delicious pumpkin spicy stuff. Okay, let's just have a little quick check-in here. Anyone else is saying, okay, perfect. Carol Ann is saying the sound is better. Andre's watching from Vancouver. Tim Tang says all is good. Thanks, Tiffany. Okay, I love that you guys are all chatting. Micheline says the sound is good. Awesome. Christina is saying I'm looking great. So that's very sweet of you. Okay, so we are going to get into this recipe because it is time consuming. When I wrote the book, originally I had a lot of people recipe testing because I had never written a book before. It was my first one. So the whole process of recipes from brain to paper to making sure that it makes sense to other people is lengthy because I know how to make things that I make over and over again in my head, but making sure that they're being explained and measured properly is a bit of a task. So I had a handful of people testing a lot of the recipes, and I had both of my sister and my brother-in-law both tested this recipe. They said it was very time consuming but worth it in the end. So if you're going to make this recipe, I would recommend that you make multiple loaves, so double, triple, quadruple the batch, just by doubling up or tripling up all of the ingredients and freeze them, and I'll tell you about how to do that towards the end. So I've got all of my recipe ingredients set up here. So Fiona, if you want to just have a quick gander, it's not that much. I've prepared everything in advance. So I've got these lentils. I just pre-cooked them. You need about 2.5 cups total. This is a little bit more than that. And these are just some lentils that they're still warm. I just cooked them. I realized this morning when I woke up that I didn't actually have any lentils at home, so I just went up to the store about an hour ago, picked up 2 bags, threw them on the pot with water, didn't measure anything, just cooked it till they were soft and strained them. Here I've got some onion, and I want to just mention this. This is a beeswax cover, so if you're looking to eliminate waste, there's a ton of different brands of these, but this is it's beeswax, and just the wax that's been melted over a piece of fabric, and this is what I use for storing things. So it just bends and melds right over bowls and stuff. So it's just a really great way to eliminate waste. So that is a little mention there. So I've got onions here. I've got mushrooms here. I've got some carrots. This is grated apple, so it's a little bit brown. It's just oxidized because I grated it in advance. I've got some zucchini in here. The reason I have it in this towel, everybody, is because when you grate zucchini, and I'll tell you how I did this later, when you grate it, a lot of moisture comes out. Zucchinis are something like, I don't know, someone else can maybe tell me. I'm going to say 60% water. I don't know what the percentage is. They're like high water content anyway. So for this particular recipe, and if you're doing like zucchini muffins and stuff like that, quite often you want to eliminate some of the water. So all I did was I put it in this clean tea towel that doesn't look clean, but the reason it doesn't look clean is because it's constantly used for things like this, so it's got a bit of a greenish gray stain to it. But I just put the zucchini in freshly grated, and then over the sink I just squeeze, eliminate the moisture. So there's our zucchini, and then this can just go in the laundry. Then I've got here some dry ingredients. This is oat bran, or just ground up oats. These are breadcrumbs, but instead of regular breadcrumbs today, I'm using panko because I had panko in the cupboard. I've got some walnuts that I've gone and just toasted on a frying pan on the stove, so just to bring out some extra flavor. You can skip that step. So these are walnuts, and then a few other taste ingredients that we're going to talk to when we get into the process. So easiest thing in the world to start. I'm just going to get a frying pan on here. Get it nice and hot. I'm going to put it on, a high temperature. I want to get that warming up. And then we're going to start cooking some of the ingredients. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my egg. Because this is a vegan lentil loaf, it's not a real egg, it's flax. So if you work in the vegan world and you cook in the vegan world, you might be familiar with a flax egg. So this is just 4 tablespoons of ground flax seeds. Good old Canadian. Down in Costa Rica, I did manage to find Canadian flax seeds, so that's super fun. But I've got about 4 tablespoons here, ground up. And I'm going to add about a half a cup of water to this bowl, and this is going to form my binder. So just in my tap, I'm going to put in about a half a cup of water, and I'm just going to stir this up. And you see this a flax egg. The reason we call it a flax egg is because as the water and the flax mix and sit, you'll see as the time passes here today that this is going to coagulate and become very, there's no, for lack of a better word, mucusy, like an egg white. You can see it already starting to do that. See how it's thick? And this is going to be what helps bind our lentil loaf together. And a little bit of flax is always good. It's great omega sources, it's good fiber, good fat, omega-3s, like all that good stuff, omega-6s. Well, who else do we got here? We've got John Scott saying he's watching from Quebec. Christine says, can you wash it? Can I wash what?
The beeswax fabric cover.
The beeswax. Okay, yes. Just don't wash it under super hot water. I just washed it in the sink using warm water and soap. Just don't use super hot because you'll melt the wax. So yeah, you can definitely wash it. Don't put it in your dishwasher. Molly is saying good afternoon. Christine says, can you wash the beeswax fabric cover? Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've got our flax egg here. Then if you want to come over here, Miss Fiona, so I've got this heating up, and this is a really thick bottom pan, so it's got some good weight to it. And I recommend if you're going to buy pots and pans, make sure that you always buy them with a nice thick bottom. Just because if they won't heat evenly and you'll have hot spots and things will burn. So I'm going to add in about a teaspoon and a half of ghee, and I'm using ghee today. You can use any fat that you want. The idea here is we're going to be cooking vegetables, so I'm using ghee. You could use any of your favorite oils. You could use regular butter, coconut oil, whatever you want, and I'm just going to spread that around. Ooh. Perfect. Then we're going to start getting some of our stuff in here. So first thing I'm going to put in is the onion. This isn't sizzling hot yet, but it'll come to temperature in the essence of time. It's starting. Then I'm going to add in some mushroom. And this is going to look like I'm dropping it all over the floor. I laugh and I joke that my staff, like at Rythmia, they follow me around the kitchen with a broom and a dustpan when I'm cooking because I'm just a mess. It's not a joke, they really do sometimes. Oh, and here's another little at-home tip. So this bucket that you saw on the counter, this is my compost bin. Because I cook so much, and we fill this, almost every day, right, Levi? I use so much produce that I need a big bucket. So this is my green bin, and then we'll just bring this out and throw it across the road for the iguanas in one of the empty lots. So that is, and always have that handy. I think it was Rachel Ray that used to always say, have a garbage bowl when you're prepping. So like on your table, your counter where you're prepping your vegetables, have a bowl or a bucket that you can just toss all your vegetable scraps into instead of always walking over somewhere to like the green bin under the sink or whatever. Have your garbage bowl handy. So that is sitting there. And this is all going to cook down pretty quickly. I'm just going to dump it all in there. So this is our zucchini. Again, excess water drained. I'm going to put in, this is a bit too much carrot, so I'm going to only put in about that much carrot. And this is going to help cut down the heaviness of the lentil loaf because, lentils are quite fibrous, and this is going to lighten it up. And sneaking in more vegetables. And add in some salt. This is just some pink Himalayan sea salt, liberally. Lentil Loaf. Dun, dun, dun. And then I'm going to add in my apple. So this is just a grated apple. A little bit of apple juice has escaped. That's fine. Okay. Heat-proof spatula. And I'm just going to give this a little mix. So I've got the salt, the veggies, sizzling up. Sounds really, really beautiful and active in there. I would have ideally, in the essence of time, normally done just the onions and mushrooms first, let them cook down a bit. But we're doing live TV here, folks. 3 garlic cloves. I like my garlic, so I'm going to just grate in 3 garlics. The recipe says mince, but I don't mince garlic anymore. If I can get some small amounts, I just hand grate it. 1, 2. And speaking of fast techniques, the other thing that I did to grate all of these, the apples, the zucchini, and the carrot, what I did was that I used my little at-home food process. You can come on in here, Fee. So I have this tiny little thing at home here, and what I use is this blade. And if you tuned in a few months back, I did a whole Facebook Live on grating and what you can grate. And a lot of people don't realize that this blade is for grating. So you put it on with these grater teeth facing up. You just put it into your food processor. You would take the S blade out, and then you just would feed your vegetables through the top, and that grates for you. You don't have to sit there with the box grater building pipes and sweating. Just use this blade. A lot of people throw it out, or just it ends up in the back of a drawer. Super, super helpful. And this one here is a slicing blade. So then you would just put it this way and it slices in the same idea. So a little tip if you didn't know. So I'm going to give this a little stir. It's starting to smell good already, right? But we're missing a couple things. The seasoning. So I'm going to add in, I added salt. So I'm going to add a couple more things. I'm going to add in some freshly ground pepper. Because lentils are pretty bland as they stand on their own, so we need to make sure we add in lots of flavor. And then what I'm adding in here is an organic herb de Provence. And while I just threw out that word organic, I want to say something because I'm in a lot of new mommy groups in town here. Just been introduced to a lot of moms, and one of the moms in the group, one of the message groups that I'm on the other day was like, she's like, listen, I need to be, give full disclosure here. She's like, I'm not organic, and I'm not vegetarian, and I'm not this, and I'm not that, and please don't judge me. I was the first to say, hey, no judgment here. I said, well, my brand, we talk a lot about vegan and vegetarian stuff, and that's my specialty. I'm not vegan or vegetarian anymore. I eat a little bit of everything, especially during my pregnancy. And it's really hard to do 100% organic, especially here in Costa Rica, but everywhere in the world, if you can't afford it, or if you don't, it's not priority, then, we can't sweat it, especially as new moms. So let's just be easier on ourselves when it comes to that stuff. So look at this. Sorry for that rant, little side rant, but look at how quickly that cooked down. And that's pretty much all we need. We just want to warm it through, melt it down a little bit. You remember how full that frying pan was at the beginning? It's really cooked down quite a bit. So I'm going to turn that off. Smells delicious, right? Wish you had, what do you think, Bea?
Smells lovely already.
Wish you had smell-o-vision. Fiona just walked into the refrigerator. Did you see that?
I tried to cover it.
Sorry, no secrets.
I'm clumsy too.
Okay, you can come back around this side. Okay, let's see. Becca Hansen just joined. Okay, let's see. Dan is watching. Okay, so look at this. Look at that.
Ooh.
So this is going to be really, really great for binding. So these are the extra carrots. So now, the big process and time-consuming thing here is prepping, is chopping all the vegetables and stuff. But I did that all in advance, so this is going to be pretty quick. I'm going to add my lentils to a bowl. Actually, I'm lying. What I found is helpful for the texture of this dish is to actually puree some of this. So the recipe calls for, I think, 2.5 cups. I would take 3/4 of that in and about, add it to my food processor, and we're just going to puree it so it gets, it loses its form and just becomes smooth in texture, and that's going to also help bind the final product together. So I've just put it in here with my S blade, and I'm just going to pulse this up. Scraping the side because I drained these really well, so there's not much moisture. And I just want to match this up a little bit so that it's like almost like a lentil paste. But I'm not going crazy with it because I'm going to also add in whole lentils into the loaf also. So I'm not going for like a hummus, but look at, see that, how it's a little bit pasty? Okay, perfect. So back over here. You're doing great, Fee. Camera woman extraordinaire. Do you guys remember when my mom did camera for me last summer? Did anyone watch that? That was good times. I don't think my mom had ever done using an iPhone as a camera, and it was pretty entertaining. Love you, Mom, if you're watching. I know you'll watch later. My mom usually watches this. She can't watch it live. She tunes in later. Okay, so we got about, I don't know, a cup and a half in there, so I'm going to add in about another cup of just the whole lentils, and I like the mixture of the textures. And look at this, by the way. I cooked up 2 big bags of lentils, and I'm just letting these cool in here because these will be great for using in soups, for making hummuses, for doing, you know, a million different things. So I'm just going to cool it, and I'm going to store some in the fridge to use this week, and then I'm going to store some of it in the freezer. So then they're cooked, and I can add them. I can do this lentil loaf recipe again in the future without having to worry about cooking them. And use them for many different things, and it's just saves you using another canned good. And it's a lot cheaper if you're trying to save money. Buy dried beans, because the cans are 3 times the amount.
Christina said, can you puree all of the ingredients?
If you're texture sensitive, yes, but it will be mushy. It might not hold together and bake up as well. Because when you're pureeing, like if you puree all the vegetables and stuff like that, it will just become more moist and pasty. So the final lentil loaf might not slice in a nice thick texture. It might just kind of be mush. But the taste will all be there. So yeah, 100%. Okay, so to this bowl, I'm going to add in a couple of things. So the oats. So this is in place of a flour, we're using ground oat flour. Adding in my breadcrumbs. You could use gluten-free, whole wheat, whatever you want to use. I'm adding in my toasted walnuts.